All right, well, permits to sell beer and wine and liquor licenses, they're not easy to come by all the time in most places in Idaho. In fact, the wait list to get one in some cities can be as long as 10 years. But what if you just borrowed one, like for the weekend? Idaho State Police say that is what some sellers are doing, and they're just calling it something else, a mobile bar. Think a wedding or a party with a hired cash bar. However, those party planners and bartenders may actually be committing a felony. Mobile bars can be legal, but ISP says there's something people need to know about them. Here's Joe Paris.
The early days of January, you might be reminiscing still about the holidays that were, the food, the fun, the family, maybe some alcoholic drinks.
This is one of the busier time of years.
Yes, the alcoholic drinks portion of the holiday season certainly gives the State Police Division for Alcohol Beverage Control plenty to work on. Idaho State Police Captain Rocky Gripton says there is major attention now on illegal mobile bars.
Problem in Idaho is we don't have a license just for mobile catering. And so essentially licensees have allowed these mobile catering businesses to essentially use their license.
Under Idaho law, there are very specific rules on who can go mobile to sell beer, wine, and liquor at events.
That requires essentially a brick and mortar establishment with an address that's properly zoned to conduct that type of business.
Businesses that have a liquor license still need to get county and city permits to serve at an event. They can't just set up and start selling out of a trailer. And those licenses, they're not shareable. Businesses can't lease out their liquor licenses to other entities.
A lot of the times they may be receiving payment on the back end for allowing somebody else the use of that license.
So customers can be told by a business, oh yeah, we have a license, even being shown what looks like their legit paperwork. Leads them to believe that that's all they need to do.
They're probably not going to know because a lot of these companies are holding themselves out on the internet as a valid company, going as far as stating that they're properly licensed and insured, when at the end of the day they're not.
This isn't a hypothetical either. Idaho State Police sees illegal mobile bars popping up more and more around the state. In fact, they made an arrest back in November.
This was one of those scenarios when they didn't have a license whatsoever, not even a catering permit. They made an attempt at obtaining a catering permit, but were denied because, they weren't a licensee.
To be clear, these are not new laws.
As far as I know, since Prohibition in the 1930s, it's a felony. That's punishable, I believe, up to a $5,000 fine or 5 years in prison. This has probably been going on for a long enough period that they became accustomed to it. And now that we've more been alerted to it, we're trying to do everything we can to provide education. We're reaching out, but we still have those cases where people are going to do it anyway.
So with ISP stepping up enforcement and really focusing on this issue, some general advice would be, if you're going to book a company to bring liquor, to sell liquor at one of your events, make sure they have the correct paperwork and not just the liquor license. You also have to make sure that the city and the county, they've also signed off on the event permit. But Brian, this law actually falls in with a lot of liquor laws that date back to Prohibition. And I was just talking with ISP today about, the idea too that, for example, you can't drive into Idaho with more than 2 quarts of liquor. It's against the law. And I don't know how many people know that.
Okay, so you're supposed to triple check, but let's say you do check twice. They say we're good. Who's liable? The person that hired the mobile bar or the actual mobile bar?
In terms of liability, I'll have to check for you, Brian. But if they get shut down and then they can't show up at your event, you're out liquor.
Or in the middle of the event. That would be a bit embarrassing. All right. Thanks, Joe.